Oh, hey there. Let's talk about being enough. Hey, Les Raymond here with the Mindful Movement. Thanks for joining me today for another mindful tip. Today's tip is on being enough. And this is like a piggyback off our last video. So, the last video I was talking about practice, and I referenced my son's basketball habit and really the fact that somebody could have, we were talking about really the benefits being in the practice regardless of goals. So somebody could be playing basketball or doing anything really where the goal is two totally different things. So one could be to play at a certain place at a certain time in life, like in the NBA, and one is just to enjoy the game of basketball. But the benefits were in the practice either way. So I referenced that we as a parent could really interfere with that process and really compromise our relationship with our child when we impose the goal that we think it ought to be. So when we start showing up in the world where we're pushing our insecurities, our shoulds or our wants or our expectations onto others, that can really negatively affect that person and our relationship with them. Because it's not really about us. And that's just a story in our mind of what it should be. It's not truth. Um, you know, it's not like a real absolute truth that that kid should be playing basketball for a certain reason. It's just we get ideas and then we can impose those on others. And we do it all the time. And I think as parents, we do it to our kids quite a bit. I know personally, I'm guilty of just phrasing things in a way where the intent could be heard so much differently. And, I'll give you an example. Let's say you say something like, what do you mean you didn't clean your room, son? I asked you to clean your room an hour ago. So as a parent, our intent is, well, we want to inspire our kid to be responsible and teach them personal responsibility, maybe personal hygiene, and to teach them how to keep a tidy space. But that could be heard so different. And it's not necessarily heard consciously, like, especially for a child, that's all subconsciously heard. So they're hearing something totally different. They're hearing, you're not good enough. You'd be better if, you cleaned your room an hour ago. So those are two totally different things. And it's a practice being aware of these ideas so that we know that we show up in the world in a way that we're interacting with those around us in a way that aligns with how we want to show up in the world and how we want to be heard. So, our child, who we want to teach that we love unconditionally, could definitely feel conditional love in the way that we say things if we're not mindful of how we say them. That scenario, I'm not good enough, I don't keep my room clean, is really a form of my dad doesn't love me. Not unconditionally, he'd love me more if I keep my room clean. Now, I don't feel that way as his father, but that's how it can be heard. And, it's not a truth. He is good enough, and you are good enough, and I am, and we all are. We're all coming from the same place. We're all the same at some level, and we're all good enough as we are, but the stories in our minds could really interfere with that. And, the truth is, of course, we're good enough. But, man, it's easy to slip into some negative stories that we're not. It's very common. That we could probably all relate if we think back to our childhoods. You'll find something that you're carrying, some kind of I'm not good enough story. Some time where your parent might have been comparing. That's often like, look at so and so, why can't you be more like them? Or look at how they do that, or look how they dress, or look how fast they are, or why don't you do this, or shoulds, or you should do this, or you should try that, or you shouldn't have done this, or why couldn't you have done it this way? And all of those things could be heard either consciously or subconsciously as, I'm not good enough. But those are stories, and those are stories in other people's minds being imposed because they are limited. they only know how to show up in the world the way they know themselves. So it's very easy for someone's limitation of how they know how to show up in the world to impose this idea on you there, where we create a story in our mind that we are not good enough because of someone else's story in their mind, their expectation, their insecurities being projected. So ask yourself this, if you have kids, or if you don't, think of someone really close to your life. Like, if you ask them, do they know 100% wholeheartedly that they are loved unconditionally, regardless of what they do, regardless of how they show up in the world? Do they know they are loved? Do they know they are loved by you, regardless of how they show up? Ponder that for a moment. And if not, ask yourself, well, how can I behave in a way that they know that they are loved? How can I behave in a way where my child knows that I love them absolutely 100% unconditionally, regardless of the whats that they do? And how do I show that? How do I show up in the world in a way where that just radiates off me and there's no confusion about it? Because we all need some of that. And we all have experienced times in our life growing up where we needed that and we didn't get that. And that could fester. That could fester in like tension in the body, tension in the neck. It could fester as disease. It could mess up digestion. I mean, over time, that could be cancer. So, let's be mindful of how we're feeling about ourselves, how we're treating ourselves, how we're loving ourselves, how we are knowing ourselves as being enough, and how we are showing others in our lives that we see them for what they are, for their truth, that they are enough. And they're not limited by the crap stories in our mind, that we're not projecting our junk onto them, that they have their own love and their own space, and we are here to support them. And let's not get in the way of that. It's not the easiest thing to do. I am guilty of messing this up countless times, and I'm in practice, as I hope you are. I hope you enjoy this topic. If you feel you are enough, comment below, say I am enough. And if you feel you know someone that might find this video useful, please share it. By the way, I think last week's video was kind of on this topic of being enough, so if you haven't checked it out yet, Sarah wrote it and read it. It's awesome. So let us know what you think about that. And by the way, if you feel like you're in a place in life where you want to take these ideas of mindfulness to help kind of navigate your life in a different direction and maybe work on your personal growth, and you're not exactly sure how to do it, we have a couple options for you. We do have the Living Fulfilled course, which is a great tool, a great vehicle to go through that process. For some folks, they thrive more in really like a one-on-one engagement. And we both offer coaching. So Sarah does offer private hypnosis and guided meditation, which I think is probably the most powerful tool we have available for habit change. So if you're really trying to make a big change in your life, I just can't think of a better tool than a custom private hypnosis to do it. And I think there's a lot of tools out there. I just think that could be the most fast-acting, most effective. I myself have been coaching for over a decade now. If you're wanting to engage one-on-one, either in person or over the phone or over Skype, to kind of go through some personal development and help be kind of walk through that process, then we do offer those services. So feel free to reach out to us for that. Check out on our site, you'll find some info on it. And again, I hope you enjoyed this video. You are enough. Remember it. I hope you have a great day.